Alright, what is going on, guys? Got one more breakdown for UFC 284. Might post one more, actually, but I will have something for next week's fight card up tonight. It's just until the end of this month. I figured there might be at least one card where I wasn't able to do like a full analysis, and it ended up being this one, so I just pivoted to next week's and hope to have those out fairly early this time. But yeah, one more at least here for 284 at lightweight. We got Jamie Mullarkey taking on Francisco Prado. Prado, just 20 years old, will be his UFC debut. He is undefeated. And in terms of physicals, Mullarkey is going to be 2 inches taller. He's going to have a 4 inch advantage in reach, or 3 inches, excuse me. But I will start with Francisco Prado, I suppose. So, undefeated from Argentina, been getting a lot of stoppages, but as you can see, not the best records here, some very subpar records, but I mean, at the same time, this guy has been insanely active. Like almost all of these fights have been in 2021 or 2022, so he's been fighting like 3 or 4 times a year, trying to get on the UFC's radar. Seems to have a really good attitude, and yeah, it's going to be hard to gauge just how good he is with this level of competition. But he has been taking out some better records in his most recent fights. I'll be honest, I'm not familiar with like any of these guys really, but a lot of these fights are on YouTube, and this guy is very explosive. He looks like a roided up Drew Dober, at least in his Tapology picture. But yeah, very explosive on the feet. Good head movement. Doesn't mind trading in the pocket. Seems to primarily want to get the fight to the ground. He gets big, strong double legs, and he's gotten a couple of submissions, a couple ground and pound knockouts. In almost all of his fights, he seems to go to the ground. He's gotten out of some bad positions on the ground. If you watch some of these fights, they're on YouTube. But in one of these fights, I can't remember which one it was, but he did get outworked in the first round. He was putting it on him, his opponent was, and then he bounced back strong in the second. So it's good to see a guy where the resume isn't really there in terms of opponent quality. At least we've seen him test it and respond well in a fight. But that doesn't always mean anything, because I thought last week that that guy, the Indonesian guy, Jeka Saragi, I thought that his tough fight experience was going to help him out against a fighter who had the same deal as Prado, just low opponent quality, and Saragi showed no ability to get up, and he got outworked. So, all this record stuff doesn't really matter. But yeah, a very high ceiling, it seems. It's just, you don't know if this guy's here too early at 20 years old. But again, high upside. If he wins this fight, he'll definitely be a prospect to watch. But for Jamie Mullarkey, getting to fight in his home turf here, and he's been training with Volk for the past few training camps, so probably about a year and a half now. And he did actually fight Volk way back when he got demolished by him. It was early in Mullarkey's career. But yeah, he does have a rugby background like Volk, I believe. Or I might be thinking of Jack Della. I don't know. Anyway, Jamie Mullarkey, I feel like he's gotten a name for his durability, for sure. He can definitely take a punch. But he has been rocked in a fair amount of these fights. Comes onto the scene with that war against Brad Riddell. But it was just a lot of in the second and third round, it felt like Mullarkey was eating the majority of the damage, and it's like they say it on the broadcast sometimes when they're talking about your toughness, it's usually because you're losing the fight. But yeah, he has strung together some wins, some highlight reel knockouts for sure against Kama Worthy. That's kind of like a resume booster, in all honesty. Like a win over Kama Worthy looked good on a lot of people's resumes for a minute, but he just couldn't take a punch. He was getting knocked out by everybody, so it is what it is. Against Devontae Smith, Mullarkey gets hurt bad in the first round. It's all Smith, but he hurts him with these very heavy low leg kicks. I say it's one of Mullarkey's better weapons. These low leg kicks. Ends up finishing that one. Against Jalen Turner, gets better in that one, but Jalen Turner's really coming to his end. And against Michael Johnson, I thought he lost, honestly. Really close fight. I thought it was 1-3 for Johnson. They both got knocked down at the end of the first round, but I thought that Johnson's knockdown was a little bit better. The judges didn't see it that way and gave it to Mullarkey. So, a little bit of a controversial fight. I mean, Michael Johnson's been looking really good recently, but, in terms of style for Jamie Mullarkey, again, we talked about the durability, probably what he's most known for, but, he has good weapons, too, when he's the one pressuring. It's the opposite when he's being pressured, doesn't respond well to pressure. And, he doesn't really have the cleanest counter striking either. He has a lot of movement, but when guys just commit to their own offense, he's not one of these guys that just slips and rips, Like, he does get cracked, and he has been hurt in a lot of these fights. It's a little bit concerning when you're coming in here against an explosive opponent. But yeah, Jamie Mullarkey really, really tough to finish. And again, he has good weapons of his own. He has good wrestling too. He did try to implement that against Farisian, but just no ground and pound, and kind of cost him the fight. He had position, but just no offense. So it seems like he's kind of abandoned the wrestling game plan more or less, but he will go to it. And so for this one, it's a little bit of a wide line if you ask me. Jamie Mullarkey at minus 275, and I've been on the fence about this one. Wanted to pick Prado all week because I'll tell you this, I'm just gonna start doing this now. When I see like a line that's wide and I kind of like the underdog, I'm just gonna do a video about it because whenever I have that inkling and I don't make the video, it ends up happening, and I could just look smart. So, of course, here I'm going to pick Francisco Prado, and he's going to lose because I'm doing the video. But, it really just comes down to, for me, like, I don't want to bet Jamie Mullarkey at 3-1 against anybody. And earlier in the week, this was a little bit closer. It was like minus 230. But as we get closer to fight day, the line's really expanding in favor of Mullarkey. And I mean, I get that. You got an unproven guy coming in. Mullarkey has shown that he can take a punch, but he's also shown that he can get hit, and this guy's really explosive. So, I think he's going to give him a lot of problems in the first round. And, I really like the activity for Prado. I know that the records of his opponents aren't that good, but, he's been very active. He's been getting the stoppages in these fights, including when he's been getting the better competition of late. So that's all well and good. But, I think it's definitely going to be one where if Prado can't get it done in like the first round and a half, Mullarkey stands to win the fight, I think he's going to take over then. But, yeah, it's just one of those where there's a couple 3-1 favorites on this card. It's just a matter of picking your spots and picking the ones to avoid. I just think Mullarkey's one to avoid. I think there's better options around this price range. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Francisco Prado. Just throwing pocket change on it, not like a huge wager, but again, I just like to go with the upside in these types of situations. So I'll take the shot on Francisco Prado as an underdog over Jamie Mullarkey. So thanks for watching, guys. Sure, subscribe and take it easy.